Welcome back to Parking Lot Takes. I'm Brandon, that's Christian. Daredevil Born Again episode 4 might be over, but the conversation just started. We just finished the episode.
Yes.
We're completely fresh out of it.
Yes, completely fresh.
We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to discuss it. We're going to break it all down. Let's give some non-spoiler thoughts, and then we'll kind of go into
You want to score it?
discussion.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I want to score it first.
Okay.
I like when we do that.
Okay.
So let's give it a score.
Okay.
Man, I probably should have thought about that a little bit
I know.
more
Okay.
in depth before, but I think I'm
like trying to decide how I feel about certain things, how much I want to let things pull it down. You know,
I am too. Yeah. Because there's definitely a couple things in the episode that I'm kind of leery on, but there's a couple things in the episode that are bringing it up pretty high for me. Man.
All right.
I think
you know what?
I
I got it.
I think I have it.
Yeah.
I'm a little shaky, but I say let's do it. All right, count us down.
3, 2, 1. 9 out of 10. Okay.
I honestly thought you were gonna go 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm leery to say.
I'm
8 out of
just
10,
gonna actually just omit the things I don't like. Like the things I don't like, I can't even I'm struggling to even remember them. That's how high the highs are.
Yes. Yeah.
So quick spoiler thoughts. It's kind of tough to do. We're kind of coming off Hector's death. I think that's handled. The aftermath's handled very well. Especially with his niece coming in, who is, I'm assuming, is going to be our white tigress with the amulet.
So I kind of thought that at first, but she's really young.
Yeah.
So if they want to do something in the near future, they can't.
I think
really
they're just setting it up. I doubt it. She dons in the this episode.
She is.
Yeah, I doubt it happens this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't be for. Well, she can't. She's like 11.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm almost like she needs to be a little bit older. But I think they are setting that up because of how it is in the comic books.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they handled it well in that scene. I do think they kind of moved past it a little quick. Just slightly quick.
Yeah.
But that scene hits enough emotionally to where I didn't really mind it.
Yeah. Something I wanted to gauge your is, do you feel like that... So I had this theory on the last one that episode, that Hector being shot could have been added in afterwards.
We did talk about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't think so.
You don't think so now?
No.
Interesting.
Well, I
think it feels a little bit more shoehorned in, just looking at because all you got to do is you do that sequence there, and then you go and do basically, as in then you go do the sequence with the officer.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then pretty much middle point on is off of the main, what we started kind of then we have that weird trial stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And then on, it's a new show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like that. There's 15, 20 minutes of this that was previous show.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it might have been reshoots. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it totally could be. They don't cohesively all run together. So it absolutely could be. You could take that stuff out at the court, and the episode would honestly flow just as fine, being 30 minutes.
The only thing I will say is Hector's death and all of these things leads him to certain points in the show. And so it almost feels like too much of a motivation to say that maybe it's reshoots or added in, unless they adjusted, and you probably know the scene I'm talking about, unless they adjusted that scene specifically. Because the cop stuff is too intertwined, I almost feel like, to say that it's a reshoot. When I say research, saying. I'm just saying
I bet the stuff with the petty theft is pre-overhaul, probably a really small segment, and then this is probably something added in with White Tiger. Like it could be. It doesn't those basically it's like Matt is doing completely two different things. Yes. He's meeting this guy and the stuff with this guy drives nothing else in the episode.
Yes, yeah.
So all I'm saying is you could take all of that out and the episode would be the same.
Yeah.
Like exactly the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying I thought that maybe killing Hector was maybe a decision they made later on.
Yeah.
It's all but
there's one thing I'm
almost thinking White Tiger is added later on at this point. Yeah. Maybe pre-overhaul, like post-overhaul is the White Tiger stuff. Because originally we were talking about that probably being like a huge plot point, which it could be. Now I'm almost feeling like, because then you got to think, okay, well, killing him leads him to Punisher. Mm-hmm. So therefore that decision would have to be, they knew that when they killed Hector, it was going to point Matt to Punisher. To Frank.
That's the point.
Our bad, Frank's in this episode.
I was just going to roll with it.
Spoiler
alert.
Oh, my bad.
So, spoilers. That's the point that I thought maybe it's not shoehorned in, because that is kind of the reason he goes to Frank. Everything that him and Frank talks about, like 90% of it could be in there without the Hector stuff and it still be relevant because of what happens with Foggy. But the driving him to Frank is why I go like, maybe it's not shoehorned in. I'm saying White Tiger, everything like those 15 minutes we're in the court with that one dude. That's pre-show. That's like pre-overhaul. Everything else is post-overhaul. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Even the Frank stuff is kind of like tying in.
Yeah. Like that's all kind of.
Yeah, because I was going to say like, what in the world was the case?
Yeah. I don't know like how that guy called, why Matt is representing that guy. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense for like the firm that they've built.
Well, she says the one line where she's like, hey, I need you downtown. We owe this firm or something a freebie. And he's like, all right. When? But I still don't understand the motivation.
Okay.
I think he was talking to his partner.
When? In another episode or this episode?
No, this episode. Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Because there's this shot of the office. And the reason I noticed is because there's like a vacuum cleaner in the shot. I was like, oh, that's an interesting detail. But yeah, there's a shot of the office. When they're on the phone, it's very early on. It's quick. And she's like, hey, I need you back out there. I need you downtown. Like, we owe this other firm. I can't remember what it's called. A freebie. And that's when he said, you had me a freebie. You remember that?
That's right. Never mind. My bad.
So that's why he went down there. But here's what I will say, though. Like, what is the point of it in the overall show? Like, I think they're trying to do some, like, social commentary.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it drove the story at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's so pre-overhaul.
So that I almost was like, what is the purpose of this?
It's super humorous. It's very like Matt, like it's a totally different tone.
Like I could see maybe if you would think like it furthers like the narrative of like the cops, because they're kind of pitting some of these cops as like villains in this.
Yeah.
And it's like, the system doesn't always work. Like I get some of that, but as far as like the overall narrative, I was just like, this doesn't really serve the story. It feels really out of place to me.
I'm almost curious, like, if we even have the full story on the one officer. No, because he tried to kill Matt. Just because he was like, I wear this badge with honor, da 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 da. I'm like, how could you say all these things but be so crooked and not
So I think they're leaning, I think, into this anti-hero dynamic probably. That he thinks I'm a good cop, and especially because of the Punisher stuff.
Interesting.
Because Punisher is like a hero, anti-hero, but willing to do the extremes. If he's a supporter of Punisher and there's kind of this, cult following or whatever you want to call it,
good take.
They're probably leaning into this aspect of he still thinks he's a good cop.
It's a great take.
So that's what I was kind of getting from that when he was saying that it's generational. So he just has to take the law into his own hands. That's what I'm thinking. That's where you kind of weave in Frank.
I like that.
So that the only thing I can think of is like, I don't know, bringing in some of the cop stuff. Like I can see why that's relevant, but The case stuff it just felt out of place to me. So yeah, you might be right. That's
I bet
probably
it's pre-overhaul.
something that was pre-overhaul, and then they used the Frank stuff to kind of bring it together. But I mean, that's really probably the only thing in the show. There's one other thing that I kind of didn't like, but that's the only thing that felt kind of out of place.
Yeah. Official spoilers. Let's go ahead and throw it. Our bad.
Yeah, our bad. Frank Castle is in this episode.
Well, before we get to that,
yeah,
let's talk about one more thing I did not like. The marriage counseling stuff is not working for me.
I didn't mind it.
It is not working for me. Like, it's so...
Here's what I'll say. I didn't mind it, and I think the end makes me feel a whole lot better.
I'm there with you. It's a good point.
They're pitting this... There's so much playing into the fact that he's a mayor. He's a different man. He's turned a new leaf. You shouldn't be scared of me. She's like, should I be scared of you? You know, like, but we all know Wilson Fisk is still Wilson Fisk. And the end of this episode just confirms he's putting a face on, but he is still to his core Wilson Fisk. That's when I'm like, the marriage counseling is just trying to really push forward that he's a new man and he's forgiveness and all of this. It's just to further that plot, and that's why it works for me. But the end of the episode just makes me go, I know what they're doing.
Like that at all doesn't work for me.
But it serves this story so well, though.
But I know,
because
but
he's
it's
the mayor.
so different from, like, I don't feel like he would ever lie to Vanessa.
But he feels betrayed. Yeah, so there's an interesting new dynamic here that they're really playing into. Yeah. And specifically because in that scene, she goes, she's talking about betrayal. He says betrayal, and she's like, well, when you left me, that's betrayal. So, like, he's definitely thinking she betrayed him. So I think he still loves her, but there's a different dynamic there. And so I think they're leaning into that. So I think he's... knows if he lies to her or if he tells her the truth, then it's going to further affect that. So he's just playing more into his psychotic, complex nature.
Well, okay, so somebody in our comments said this, and I thought it was... I don't completely agree, but I think it's an interesting point. And they said, like, I think that part of, like, what Vanessa liked about Wilson was his, like, the power he had.
Yes.
The fear,
absolutely.
The fear he brought. I almost feel like in the relationship that they established in the previous show, it would work for me a little bit more had Wilson been like, I want to go straight and go for mayor, and almost Vanessa be like, this is not who I fell in love with.
Yes. Yeah.
And then almost like she might fall back in love with him because of what he does to Adam.
That is interesting.
See, that to me would be more like Wilson from the previous show.
She's like very much into that. He will go to those lengths out of jealousy for her because he loves her.
She likes it.
Yeah,
that's.
I don't know. They could do that.
They could. It's
there's
not off
room
the table
because, especially in this episode, they're still very at odds. Like, they're trying to work through the forgiveness thing, but they're still very much at odds. And she basically is like, "I'm different. You're different." So maybe with what they're playing on with the Adam stuff, maybe they slowly creep back to that. And by the end of this season, we get Vanessa and Wilson from the Netflix series because he's taken back the power. He's done something crazy. You know what I mean? So they may be building towards that.
Yeah.
And I think if they do, I think it really makes the marriage counseling stuff have more meaning. And that, I think by the end of this episode, that's why I'm kind of leaning towards... I see what they're trying to do here with it.
It did not. It's a good point. I wasn't really thinking about the final scene. I was just thinking about when we were watching it. I was like, okay, this is just not working for me. Like, this is so off. Because I'm watching the show right now. I'm actually rewatching the show right now. I'm like, this is so far away from where they were.
Yeah.
And whether you maybe I'll say we, and if you disagree, then just maybe we're just not big fans of changing characters drastically off camera for the sake of
off camera, absolutely,
for the sake of just convoluting. I'm not saying convoluting in a bad way, because I'm not saying over convoluted, but convoluting our story more, making it more intricate, adding more elements. I'm just not a fan of that, and I just don't. I think it's used way more than it needs to be, because if Wilson Wilson and Vanessa still had a solid relationship, I feel like the show still works.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I still feel like a lot of the show could still work.
Yeah, and
especially if they lean to like, all right, Wilson is just, he's the clean guy. He's the face. His hands are completely clean, what have you. And Vanessa is running everything underground.
I think that can work. Here's what I'll say. Like, I think maybe I'm giving them a little bit more credit to doing something creative with like a soft reboot, because like I think they are trying to deal with that, the little bit that we do have a Wilson Fisk in the MCU and some of the time gap. So like I'm kind of like, it's kind of a ballsy take for them to do this with these characters. And I think if it pays off, it really works. If it doesn't by the end of the show, I may feel differently about it. But I think if it does pay off, I will look back and go, they did something different and it works and I like it.
Okay.
And so like, here's what I'll say. I'm on board for it right now, but I don't want to make like a full judgment until I see where it goes. The end of the episode with Adam just kind of confirms what I'm feeling is happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of just like on board with it at this point.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's great. Having him locked up.
It's very intense.
You know what at first I thought it was?
It was Muse. I thought it was Muse.
No, I thought it was Daniel. The guy.
Gosh.
For a split second,
That's
I thought
something I was not a fan of.
Oh shoot! He does not care and just is beating the crap out of Daniel. And then when I realized it was Adam, I was like, yeah, that's way better.
I was not a big fan of like the first one. Okay.
It's a goofy way to do it.
It's super goofy the way they did that whole scene. This is maybe nitpicking. I don't know. I just like, again, almost never see Wilson lose his cool like that, especially in front of his whole mayoral staff. Like maybe in front of the assistant, maybe in front of the Vanessa, maybe in front of like. The only times we see Wilson lose his cool
is in a very
specific, like high pinnacle moment to a very select group of people.
Yeah.
It's never out in public.
Yeah.
All of like there is nothing like he's always kind of calm, cool, collected the entire time.
But I will say in the Netflix shows though, it always leads to this pinnacle moment and extreme violence.
Right. So with the new Wilson, so the Netflix show version of this would have been like, this happened. Okay, that's fine. Who's responsible? Okay, you're responsible. Okay. All right. I just want to talk to you alone. Everyone leaves, and then he beats the crap out of him. Like that would be that.
Yeah.
So to me it feels a little goofy, and I feel like I am noticing where the humorous moments are in the show.
Yeah.
And I feel like they are just glossing over them, which I'm not fine with. I'm not like complaining about it.
Yeah, I'm glad they're not lingering.
There's some there's some very hard, like, definitely written joke stuff.
Yeah.
Like, when he's trying to get things done and she's like, well, we have to do this and we have to do this. I think that's definitely meant to pull a laugh and, like, be humorous.
Yeah.
But the way they just kind of, like, just go over it works. But it's something I noted. I'm like, that's probably written to be a joke.
Yeah.
But I'm happy they're, like,
I will say, because I think if the MCU is very, very, like, guilty of, like, get it? This is our joke.
Yeah.
You see this. Like, haha, you should laugh. Whereas this one's kind of just, it's just kind of rolling with it, which is a lot better, I think, for this, like, mature show.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely happy with that. I just feel like to do the loyalty thing with his character feels goofy just because he is and has been such a, like, lighthearted part of the show.
Yeah.
So I almost was expecting it to be a more serious moment with like his staff or something like that, and it to be a very like intense moment, but it's not, because he's just kind of like just throwing up like and butt kissing, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
And so
that was some of the stuff I didn't like that I felt like pulled it down for me.
Him,
I'm not a big fan of him. I would have thought it'd been insane if he had beat him right there or something, like hit him something. But I get it. Like, also, I think that would be like not the best choice for the show. But it's just the way it's handled is just not the way. Like, I would think he would handle that.
Yes. Yeah.
I almost think like he would like be like coming into his apartment or something crazy, you know, and but
yeah, and I think
it's less that, it's more him like blowing up in front of the entire staff.
Yes.
That I just wasn't the biggest like
because he's very
calculated. Yeah.
Exactly.
And he's not gonna want to show like he has a history of being a thug.
Absolutely. And people know it.
Yeah.
He went to prison,
so and he's been like acquitted or like whatever. Where it's been, you know, but you've got to think he doesn't want to play into that image too much.
Yeah.
So
there's people already think he's a.
It's definitely like one of this thing in the episodes I just didn't like. Like I don't think he would. It's like that guy could kiss his butt. That's that guy's character.
Yeah.
How Wilson could handle it, I could disagree, but I could also see a version of this where if he really liked that guy. I don't know why he's really invested in that guy personally, but. It's going to serve a story. It's going to serve a purpose in the end of the story.
I think he just sees like a blind dog that he can just kind of manipulate and who's loyal. So I mean, at this point, that's just what I think. They're lingering a lot on his character, but
but yeah, the losing it in front of the staff, I just wasn't the biggest. That to me is
a little out of character,
kind of a break in character a little bit, and a little bit just MCU on the nose, right? Like it's just like he's angry and he's. And I'm like, I know, because guess what? I watched the other 3 seasons. But I think this is the idea here is to start seeing the kinks in the armor. Yeah, they're just a little too obvious.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I mean, gosh, the Netflix show did it over 6 episodes. Yeah, 6 hour-long episodes of like. Wilson until he finally loses it and decapitates the Russian.
Yes.
That's when you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, and that it was, he's so cool. He's so calculated the whole time. He's very poised. He's very elegant. Absolutely. He seems like a nice guy. Like, honestly, like it's not like, you know, like if you know other material, but he seems when the dinner gets interrupted, obviously he's annoyed, but he doesn't seem at all upset. And then he just grabs him and that to me just is what sold him as a character to the world in that first season, especially Vincent D'Onofrio in that character. Yeah. So now I feel like that moment is just such an MCU, like so obvious. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
like
I know
it's not it's not this, and it kind of plays into what we're talking about, where he just doesn't feel like elegant, and he like just this hyper calculated, can't like catch his scent because he's just so like he's slippery, but he's an elephant. Like I don't know. Like
I think they're playing on this like fish out of water thing with him though, with the mayor. And this episode makes me think
you're right. No, you are.
But the end is what tells me he's still very calculated.
You are. But I think that is another thing because we said about it in our reaction. We're like, how did he not know about all this bureaucratic red tape he would have to go through? Like, why is he acting like this is such a surprise to him?
He would still have to do
He's
all
a
that.
businessman.
Yeah.
He knows that there are laws and there are things you have to do, especially like he has patience because he cleans freaking money like the entire past seasons.
Yeah.
He runs a criminal underground under legit business. Like that's planning, that's calculated, that's not just doing what you want.
Yeah.
That's
working around
patience.
the system, but you have to know the system to do that.
Right. So to me, like him just being so ignorant of how like the mayor, like, what do you mean I can't just build it? Like that.
You would know you can't just build it. You've done other building projects.
Like, what do you mean you can't just overhaul and rebuild a wharf? You know that you can't just go execute whoever you want. Exactly. Like, you have to have a plan in place and someone to take the fall and a reason and a story and an alibi. Things that he always sets up. So to me, it feels just like MCU obvious. Like, he's frustrated, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's totally the previous show. Like, it's totally the pre-overhaul. Like, that's what that stuff is. Yeah. I was going to say, to the Vanessa point, I think when you're saying, I think it could work, I agree with you. I'm down. I'm not hating. Like, I rated the episode 9 out of 10. Yeah. It doesn't bother me that much. I'm just telling you, something in the episode, I was just like, is this really working for me? I don't know. Yeah. I do think that this was the only choice because of how much probably was filmed with him, because they were going to recast Vanessa. and they did not make the decision to bring her back till the overhaul.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder if that was the only decision, because she is completely separate from all the mayor stuff. Completely. Yeah. And if we go all the way back to the first 2 episodes, the inauguration, his acceptance speech, she is like, all of that can be reshot and re-edited to look like she's there. Like she's out in the hallway in the distance. She points the glass up and leaves. They go up on the roof.
Yeah,
like,
you can do
all of that can be stitched in. It's beautifully stitched in.
Oh yeah, you would notice.
Like I don't know for sure. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Is it so much so that the showrunners felt like that was an important thing for them, or was that just the decision they had? I'm not upset either way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I almost feel like that just was what they had to do. Otherwise, it's just Vanessa at home and he's doing all the mayor stuff.
Yeah.
And they need to bring her into the show somehow.
Somehow connect those worlds.
I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But I'm curious because we know she was, she wasn't in the show. She was going to be recast, and then they decided to bring her back. How much of this stuff is, how much of the plot of their marriage being so brittle is part of the original, but because they shot so much of the show before they overhauled it, and they're like, we've got to come up with a reason that she's not mentioned in Echo, that she's not mentioned in Hawkeye, and all that stuff. Yeah. So
that's a good point.
So, but it's a minor complaint, because honestly, I don't like the stuff with Adam. I'm kind of in, like, I kind of don't care anymore.
Yes.
But I would say, like, without that, I would not be in.
Yeah.
Like, I would not. I'm like, this is weird. He wanted Vanessa and he went and freaking got her. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he proved to her this and that and the other. He proved his worth. He put out all the stops. Like, he showed her, like, what he brought to the table, his value. So for him to
she hadn't portrayed him at that point.
Right, but for him,
I think the betrayal does throw in a different dynamic for Wilson.
It's a good. I'm not saying it's a bad excuse for what the outcome is. I'm just saying he is so much more timid.
Yeah. And
whether we want to call it the betrayal, whether he feels like his marriage is fragile, obviously he's putting up a front.
Yeah. Clearly,
yeah. Okay. Do you have anything to say, or do you want to get into Punisher?
Let's talk Punisher. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk some stuff we like. Oh, I did want to say one thing. How'd you feel about the scroll line? Talk about MCU obvious.
That sucked. Was it a scroll?
Could it have been a scroll?
Could have been a scroll?
Oh my god!
Like, Secret Invasion? A wink, wink, wink.
Who
That's so stupid.
Watching that back, who thought let's leave that in?
That's so out. That
didn't get cut on the editing floor.
That's so pre-overhaul, bro.
Absolutely.
Like, was it a scroll? Like, that's so what they shot before they overhauled it. Like, absolutely, we're not upset about it. But
it's just.
But it is
laugh.
Obvious, dude.
But I laugh because it's so MCU obvious.
It's so obvious. It's so bad.
It felt like the most shoehorned joke in there.
Absolutely. Like, it was almost
could have been a scroll.
Could have been a scroll. Who knows?
Yes, like, and Matt's like, no.
Yeah, no, shut up.
I just thought that was funny.
It's like literally also a case in She-Hulk where they had the elf, the light elf that looks like everybody. Yeah. Like, well, could it have been a light elf from Asgard? Why don't we just go and scroll?
Yeah, I thought that was funny. But no, let's talk about probably the highlight of the episode.
Yeah,
Punisher.
Yeah.
What an incredible scene.
Dude.
He's back.
Dude, it's so good.
It's all dialogue, and yet they still have Frank Castle not pulling punches.
Oh my gosh, it was so great. Good.
Just absolutely head on, just challenges Matt. I thought it was great. Oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. I don't know, like, I'm so curious how he, like, knew who he was, like, what that looks like, and I'm trying to see if I missed something.
I'm almost thinking maybe Matt's always known. He's just showing up for the first time.
Because it sounds like, because he says,
how you been?
How you been? He also says, you planning your next kill? Yeah. And he's like, he kind of chuckles. So, like, Punisher's still active, it sounds like, and doing things. Yeah. But at the same time, he doesn't look like he's like he looks like he's been down there for a while. So I mean, I don't know, but I was very curious about that because I was like, where is he going? And then he just shows up, so he knows where Frank's at. But what a great way to introduce Frank into this, not in a violence way, but
That's
in like
so
a
good.
use his character and the dialogue
Yeah.
to press Matt is perfect. Because I was going through the episode, I thought the stuff with the White Tiger, I'm like, okay, here's a point to bring him back to Daredevil. What else is going to push him over? And then the Frank stuff happened. I was like, this is what's going to really push him to get back in the suit. And it's used so perfectly. Oh, it's so good.
There's so many good lines in there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What about Foggy? Did he get life? Oh my gosh.
Dude. And before that,
so good.
There's like 2 lines where I was like, oh gosh, like that one just sends him over.
You hear his voice, don't you?
Yes.
I hear my little boy's voice. He
like,
says, "Get him, Daddy. Get every last one of them." And so I do.
Dude, I need to watch back the reaction, dude, because my eyes are tearing up.
Dude, it's so good.
Get them all, Daddy. Oh,
One
my
batch,
gosh.
2 batch, penny and dime.
Yeah, it's emotional.
Yeah,
that's what really got me. They used it as an emotional moment.
So good. I love it.
And Matt just like in tears.
Him
thinking
being the
about
one
Foggy.
to push Matt back in.
I think it's great.
Oh,
it's
so
perfect
good.
because he's such a brash character.
Yeah.
Like you need someone to just come in and just directly look at Matt and just say it. Like, say his name. Say it, you coward. Like, what a great way to use him. Because like I was wondering, I was like, is he going to show up? Is it going to be an action sequence? That would have been cool. I'm honestly down that this happened.
Absolutely.
I think we're still going to get more Punisher.
Oh, we've seen there's set photos. And
he's clean cut. He's shaved. Like we're going to see him.
Which makes me excited because I'm like, oh, is this like a final act Punisher? Like Punisher's
it might
in the
be
final act. Like,
yeah,
dude, that'd be so sick. I want to say is we walk in there, bro. Frank has been getting stuff done.
He's geared up.
He's like, his face is beaten up.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, he's out there just murking
He's got like
people,
4
dude.
P90s on the
Dude,
wall. Like,
oh my gosh, it's so sick.
Yeah. Well, because like
my gosh.
on the back wall, he's got like a bunch of pictures and he's like doing the Charlie Day from, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like he's got a whole wall.
And the whole wall behind him. And he's like,
I'm like, this man's working.
And they give that line. He's like, you could really help save lives. He's like, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that downrange. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's written. It's written so good.
Beautifully.
Can we say peak, please?
Oh, that scene is absolute
peak. Oh my gosh.
Absolute peak.
Oh my gosh. That's what's so crazy. It's like the whole episode probably is not peak. But there's moments in the show that are so peak.
Oh my
That are
gosh.
some of the best Daredevil moments
dialogue
ever.
Some of the best dialogue between characters I've heard in a long time.
Yes, the acting is so good. John Bernthal absolutely brings it back.
Gosh, I love
People are going to be
him.
so freaking stoked about. I mean, golly,
I think so
can't wait
too.
to see him again.
Yeah, I can't either. Because you're going to get some action, and the dynamic between those two showing up again. Honestly, when Matt left, I thought, oh, how does he come back? Like in this show, like I am kind of curious. I'm sure the cop stuff will kind of develop, and maybe he will. But I am very curious how that works. But gosh, I can't wait. Oh, it's gonna be so good. It's probably not gonna be for a couple of episodes.
I bet it's fine. I bet it's like 8 and 9. He's
8,
back.
9. Yeah, he's back. He kind of plays a big part. Wilson's gone off the rails. Like it's gonna be good. But gosh, yeah, absolute peak. Absolute peak of his scene.
It's so good.
And that's what keeps...
He calls him Red, too.
Oh, I love it. Yes. Oh, how you doing, Red? Or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's good. That just is like... That hits all the points, too, because we love the Netflix show. But it serves the story perfectly.
It's very
well.
reminiscent.
It's not just a cameo. It serves this story incredibly well.
Gonna play a huge impact.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's so impactful because clearly at the end of the episode, Matt's up on the roof. He's looking at his suits. He's whipping like the his batons or whatever it's called around. So like
clubs.
It's definitely a pushing point for Matt. So it's very crucial.
I will say this, and I was thinking about it when we were watching it, because originally with the leak was like, what's going to be like very much lawyer. Matt's not going to suit up to the 4th episode, and they will. But we overhauled it. Okay, just doing it in the first 10 minutes, like going back to it does not count.
Doesn't mean
just because you added in that, like I'd be like it's fine if it doesn't bother everyone, but it's totally like we'll do 10 minutes in the beginning.
There you go. You get your Daredevil.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But I really like where the story's going. Frank, John Berthel absolutely brings it back. I don't feel like we're missing a beat on it. He is in New York getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
We know that from Wilson talking about,
Yes,
him.
definitely.
But man, I'm so excited.
It just makes me want Punisher season 3.
I'm like, dude, what is because we're getting a special, I don't want to say edition, but a Punisher special.
They call it like it's a Punisher special.
Which I'm curious if they're gonna leave the copy, which I'd be down for.
Oh, I would
leave
be down
the
for.
copycat. No, I'm saying, but leave the copycats. So I'd be down for this for the Punisher special. Is leave the copycat cop storyline open-ended. Do not conclude it here and let Frank finish that story, that side story in the Punisher special.
Yeah, that could work.
That would be sick.
That would be really sick.
That would be sick because right now we got a lot going on. We got copycat cops, we got Muse, and we got Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
So I think I would be down for them to leave the cop stuff just open-ended and be like, okay, this is gonna be maybe what Frank's doing during the rest of the episodes in Daredevil.
Yeah.
And maybe he just shows up clean cut, ready to go, and there's some evolution there. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't care either way. But I'd be down to just let's leave the cop stuff alone, and that's what Punisher's going to be dealing with in the Punisher special. I would be so down.
Could be.
Because we got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, we do. And that's why I said, I'm kind of curious how they bring him back and, how they weave that into the story. But we know from the set photos, he's definitely in it. So I would be surprised if they cut it. But they're not going to cut that out. But, yeah, that's interesting. I could see that working, him kind of wrapping that up because he clearly doesn't like copycats from this episode.
Well, they don't even. It almost leads me to believe because they don't even discuss it really.
No,
it kind of just brings it to his attention, and but it's more so. It's more so for that dialogue of getting Matt back, back to home base.
Yes, yeah. What a great.
I'm excited.
Great moment. I'm so excited.
This is leading us. If we're done talking about it,
yeah, I think. That's the main
Muse
and the end. Yeah. I love what Wilson Fisk did, with the whole Adam thing. Yeah. I just think that is such a big moment for the episode because of what they've been doing with this character. Like I said earlier, I think it just kind of confirms what I was feeling they were doing. And I think it's fantastic.
That's why his knuckles are bruised.
Yes,
he's been beating Adam.
Crap out of Adam.
That's sick. Yes. I just put that together.
The subtle, every couple episodes we see that. Dude, and it's because he's still beating the crap out of Adam.
That's so sick. I love that.
And I just think it solidifies us that we still have that Wilson Fisk character. Everything else is a front.
Yeah.
Everything he's doing on the mayoral side, I think even with Vanessa, is all a front. He's still very there. And I think we're just going to build up to getting back to what we know from the Netflix show.
I would hope so.
So that's why I just think that the end is really good too and just further solidifies what I thought.
Yeah, Muse is sick.
Muse is sick.
We get a little bit. It definitely...
we only get a little bit though.
Here's what
it's very much
I'm almost
teased.
Feeling like it's not like it was totally added in later just to bring the tone down a little bit. Because of how dark some of it is.
So I was going to ask you, do you think this feels shoehorned in?
That's what I said.
Because
I said that in the reaction.
Yeah.
I was like, this is very shoehorned in.
Because every scene that we have had Muse in is very it's almost like we're cutting away from what we've been watching for 15 seconds. Then we're back.
It almost feels super convoluted, with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Because Fisk could be the opponent the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
But it's... we've done that already, so I could see wanting to do something else.
Yeah.
I could see Fisk not really playing his hand in this season.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Obviously, from trailers, there's a couple things. From trailers, we know that there's an attack on Fisk.
Yeah.
That they fight somewhere in there, and I think Vanessa's there. So there's some sort of where they're holding Adam. So there's some sort of reconciliation there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people believe, Muse is going to go after Fisk, and Daredevil's have to save him, which I think would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if we're kind of just going to keep putzing around each episode. Now, this episode didn't putz around, but the next few until we get to 8 and 9, that are going to be okay, Muse is boom and the forefront.
Yeah.
Which if it's done well, great, and I'll be able to separate the bad from the good. But it will, at that point, I'll be like totally shoehorned in, totally brought in so we can bring the tone down and get because a lot of this feels very lighthearted until the Punisher stuff and then until the Muse stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Because all the stuff with Wilson's pretty lighthearted except for Adam.
Yeah.
It
almost feels like the episode should have ended there.
Adam?
I mean, we even said that because it's the Adam stuff and then it's Muse. And we were like, oh, there's more? So it almost feels like the episode ended with the Adam stuff. Credits rolled, which would have been a great moment. But then they added in the Muse stuff because it's like, oh no, look, like he is still coming down the road.
Yeah.
So it just felt, it does feel shoehorned into me.
It's a little shoehorned in, but we'll just see how they handle it.
Maybe not. Like
I said in the previous episode, like we haven't seen Muse yet, and they haven't developed anything with his character, so that makes me feel like he's kind of just brought in very late in the game.
Well, I think we have seen him. We just haven't seen him in the mask.
Yeah, with the therapist.
The kid. The therapist kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's Muse, right?
Yeah.
So that's it until, because we see him a little bit last episode, right?
Yeah.
And then this episode.
He's painting Fisk on the mural. I think that's the first episode. I don't think we see him on the second and not at all in the third.
I can't remember, but it's just been very minimal.
So that's why
I would have expected Muse to almost play a part. So yeah, it gets kind of weird because they really lean into the Hector stuff. It resolves quickly. Muse kind of pops up, but they're not weaving his story in. It almost just feels like scenes that, oh, he's here.
Yeah.
Be expecting this. So it doesn't feel like this intricate weave. I don't know. It does feel kind of weird.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I mean, I'm not going to go out and say I totally think it probably is.
So far, the storylines are just not as
I haven't been put at ease. It doesn't feel like all this, the story is totally intertwined.
Yeah,
it
and
feels
it's just
like
Hector
four
stuff throws me
separate,
off.
4 separate individual stories we're trying to do.
Yeah, that we're trying to kind of work through.
But anyway, this leads us perfectly into what I wanted to talk, because I wanted us to go ahead and rank the Daredevil seasons.
That's so hard.
Do you want me to go? Do you want I can go and then you can think about it?
Here, I'll give you I'll go first and I'll give you my gut. Here's where my gut's at. My gut is number 1, season 2.
The number 1. Start
so
at 3.
The best. Okay, start at 3 is season 1.
Okay.
But still a great season.
Wow.
I think number 2 is season 3, and I think my favorite is season 2.
Explain.
I just love the Punisher stuff in season 2. I think there's just some really good scenes, and I love that dynamic. It's kind of the intro to that, and I think it just kind of really just has a lot of the things that I loved that Daredevil did.
Yeah.
In the overall show, setting up Frank Castle, integrating that. Obviously, not that I'm saying because I like Punisher, I like season 2 more. The show, I mean. But just setting up that character, their dynamic, I love their dynamic, and I eat it up every time I watch it. So that's why I would probably put season 2 over season 3.
Okay.
But season 3 is still really good.
Yeah.
Season 1 is also still really good. It's hard. I could probably switch them around.
So let me ask you this. So based on what you have seen from Born Again, how would you put Born Again into that lineup?
It's, at the moment, at the 4 spot.
Okay.
If this really delivers on the end, I don't know. The part I'm having a trouble probably separating is kind of to what we were talking about earlier. We're getting these really good peak moments, but a lot of it is around just things that we've already established. We're getting good dialogue, good scenes. It will probably still take a lot for it to get over season 1. If it lands the plane at the end and we get some great moments with these characters, the story I think is good, delivers, maybe it's over season 1. I don't think it gets to season 2, season 3 level though. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm rating it very high so far.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd probably rate the other seasons 9, 10
Yeah, why
out of
don't
10s.
rate them real quick.
I'd probably say season 2 is 10 out of 10.
So real quick, do your lineup So where you're sitting at Born Again at in your lineup, where you think they're going to line up. So go 4-1, score all the way to 1.
Do you want me to score Born Again so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would probably have Born Again so far sitting between a 7 and an 8. I'd probably say 8 out of 10. I really like what I've seen so far. I would probably have season 1 at an 8 to a 9.
Okay.
If I want to get really specific, like 8.5 to give it a little bit over Born Again, because I do still think so far season 1 is better than Born Again. Season 3 is like almost a 10 out of 10. Like maybe I'd say 9 out of 10, and I'd probably say season 2 is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow. I thought you were going to be like, it's my favorite, but it's not as good. That you were going to rate it a little bit lower.
I like... Maybe I am leaning a little bit.
No, it's fine. No,
but
if it's 10 out of 10 to you, it's a 10 out of 10.
I think season 2 is a 10 out of 10 to me.
Yeah.
There's just so many good moments. All right, give me yours.
Okay. So right now I'm sitting at Born Again as an entirety, which is funny because we have scored each episode, so we do have an average.
I don't know what my average would be.
So mine is probably going to be sitting around right now I'm at a 7, 8 out of 10, kind of like you are. I'd probably lean a little bit more 7.
Yeah.
But the highs of the show are some of the best highs in the entirety of the Daredevil character. So that's tough.
It's hard, yeah.
So it's like the TASM 2 thing where like the lows are lower than the entire entirety of the other seasons, but the highs are very high.
Yeah.
So I'd probably sit around 7, give it at the 4 spot. I do think so. Daredevil Born Again, 7 out of 10 so far, sitting at number 4.
Yeah.
Number 3, I have season 2. Season 2, I would put 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think it's very good. The Punisher stuff is great. We have a sick one-shot with some bikers. Oh, there's so much to love. There's great dialogue between John Bernthal, Charlie Cox, Wilson Fisk in prison, the one-shot fight with
stuff.
John Bernthal in the prison's all really good. The only thing is the Hand is the main villain in that, and I'm just not that big of a fan of that. I think it's a little just out there, too convoluted with the Elektra stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a weird side focus step from everything else. We're focusing on now they set that stuff up in season 1. It's not a big deal, but it's just, I just don't like it as much. Sitting at number 2, I have season 1 is a 9 out of 10. I just finished it. It's fantastic. I really, really like it. It's so freaking great. There's so much great dialogue, good moments, good acting. I just watched today when I finished it, when Foggy learns about Matt, and all that entire episode is them talking, and there's so much great stuff. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so great. It makes me miss Foggy a lot. Coming in, number 1 is season 3. I think season 3 is a 10 out of 10, hands down. It is the best season of all of it. Born Again, I will tell you this right now, Born Again, doesn't matter what they do the rest of their episodes, it won't touch season 3 because season 3 is perfect and Born Again has not been perfect thus far. So it can't. There's so much to like about season 3. It's like this beautiful step back from the story. We've progressed the story to a point, and then we take a step back, but it works, and it's very good. We up the scales in season 2 with the Hand, ninjas, people being risen from the grave, and then we get immediately backgrounded down to street level Matt. The only problem with season 3 is not even a problem with season 3. It's a problem that you kind of have to watch Defenders to understand season 3. But I'll get over it. Season 3 is fantastic. All of the themes going through the entire show to climax at that moment with Fisk where he's in his face screaming, "I beat you. This city rejected you." Oh my gosh. Great. Yes. Also, there's something to be said that we spend the entirety of season 1 wanting to see the Daredevil suit.
True, yeah.
We get to season 2 and we see the Daredevil suit and we love it. And then back to season 3, everyone's like, oh, he's out of the suit. Yeah. But then by the end of season 3, nobody freaking cares because that's the best suit. Oh my gosh. The season 3 back to basics grounded suit with the Muay Thai wrap gloves is so freaking awesome.
It's sick,
It's so sick.
That's good.
I love it. the fact that season just pulled that off for the character, for the like Bullseye and all of that just coming to a head. To me, it's just perfect superhero television. Born Again will not touch it because it just hasn't been perfect so far.
Yeah.
It could take season 2. I'm open to it taking season 1. I just don't think it will.
Yeah. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I have no disagreements with that.
Cool.
I think for me, I probably just love the prison stuff. So
yeah,
that's more my favorite stuff.
Super great moments.
Yeah.
I just think about like the end of the show.
Yeah.
And it's just there's a lot going on because it's Elektra and Matt and Punisher and all of this stuff going on. Nobu and ninjas. Now I think a lot of that's really cool, and they set it up in season 1. I am naturally really curious, like the Holy War Styx talking about. He needs building an army. I need soldiers. All of that it's got me very intrigued.
Yeah, very much so.
But yeah,
I love it.
Sweet.
I love it.
That's all. I had one more thing. I was gonna say we rank Daredevil suits, but let's do that next week.
Yeah, let's do it next week. Yeah, I'm down.
Because if we see a suit next week, well, we can do it.
That's true. Yeah. So, let's do that. Let's wait till we see the suit again. See if it's something new.
Yeah.
Because we have some thoughts about what it could be.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of rank
it.
Yeah. I think that's sick. Sweet. That's our thoughts. Daredevil Born Again episode 4. Woo. I'm really glad that we're liking it.
It's my favorite one so far.
Yeah, I guess. Probably.
I wasn't as high on the.
That's interesting because I had episode 2. I think 9 out of 10, and that's mostly because I loved the sequence in the. Oh, we might have corrected me on this. When is the scene in
First
the diner?
Episode.
I think I'd probably change it to 9 out of 10, probably episode 1 because of that scene. But I think the Frank Castle scene's even better.
Yeah.
I think it's like way better.
It's so sick.
I don't know. I might have to change up that ranking a little bit, but we're loving it. This is fun.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Fantastic.
Sweet. That's our thoughts.
Yep.
I love it. That's a wrap. Woo.